Hello and welcome. You are now looking at Alibaba.com. It is used by entrepreneurs and considered to be the top wholesaler for online entrepreneurs to use in order to sell products on Amazon.com and eBay.com and other sites like Shopify. And in this course, we'll be learning more about how you can leverage Alibaba.com. So this is a success guide for Alibaba.com. Now in this overview, we're going to be talking about what Alibaba is and why it matters to entrepreneurs. Now if you like to market physical products instead of just information in your online business, you do need a selling idea and a supply or supplier. And entrepreneurs can now source their products from China through internet supplier Alibaba. Now, Alibaba is the largest e-commerce company in the entire world, and it's even bigger than Amazon and eBay. It is the connection point for entrepreneurs between sellers from Asia and wherever the entrepreneur is. In most cases, we're talking about the United States, the United Kingdom, or Australia. Now, the company's catalog, Alibaba, is massive and has millions of products from suppliers that number in the hundreds of thousands. Now, you might be asking why, in addition to being the largest retailer, that entrepreneurs in particular look at Alibaba. And the primary reason is that companies look there because they want to take advantage of low manufacturing costs of the suppliers in Asia that are connected to Alibaba. Typically, for the same kinds of items, costs are going to be dramatically lower than those you might find if you were going to purchase in industrialized companies in North America and other countries that we've mentioned. Now, there are other reasons that entrepreneurs have begun to look to Asia in general and Alibaba in particular, and not all of those reasons revolve around manufacturing costs. So you might ask now, what are the advantages to using Alibaba? What are some of those other reasons? Well, we talked about the fact that goods typically have low manufacturing costs from the suppliers in Asia. But suppliers on Alibaba tend to work with smaller entrepreneurs, whether or not they work through their smaller arm, Alibaba Express, and they give small entrepreneurs the opportunity to deal in quantities of physical products in ways that fit their business. And what you'll find is that there are a substantial number of suppliers in Alibaba to work from in most physical product categories. And this is, of course, an advantage for entrepreneurs that are looking for the best possible price, the best possible product, and something that they can eventually brand into developing a company or developing a niche inside of both Amazon, eBay, or any other retailer. Now, in some cases, Alibaba's suppliers are the only ones who actually manufacture certain items. So you can only get those items from the Asian suppliers through Alibaba. And of course, then the product interface makes it easy to source Asian suppliers and purchase from them. So Alibaba's interface makes it intuitive and takes the intimidation factor out of actually going in, looking for a product, and finding a supplier. Now, of course, then there are some disadvantages to using Alibaba also. Customers tend to have a low opinion of goods in general from China, and that is going to be the case regardless of what it is that you're going to be selling and or retailing. Now, the other thing is that Alibaba-based manufacturers sometimes have lower quality and labor standards than companies in the West, so you'll have to overcome that in your marketing. Now, the other thing is that intellectual property protection is virtually non-existent. That means that you probably won't have exclusivity in a product area that's really selling, and it's going to be difficult for you to come to market with something that's totally unique. So this again is going to be something that you'll have to overcome in your business strategy and in your marketing. Now, the other thing is that people who are sourcing the products will have to overcome the language barrier, both in culture and understanding, as they deal with manufacturers through Alibaba. Of course, it's also difficult to actually go to the site and verify the manufacturer and verify their processes. Now, there are ways around that we'll be talking about in this course. And of course, shipping times tend to be longer because your product has to travel further. And of course, again, there are going to be some cultural differences in the business practices as well as in the relationship that you'll be developing with the people that you'll be doing business with. And again, this is something that you'll have to overcome not only in your marketing, but you'll have to overcome it in the way that you conduct your relationships. Finally, there's little to no recourse when something goes wrong. Now, there are ways around that. We'll be talking about that in this course. But if something goes really wrong, there isn't going to be a lot of very fast recourse for you to be able to take. So this is something you'll need to be taking precaution up front. You'll need to take care of these aspects as you start to get into sourcing your product and finding reputable manufacturers that you want to be doing business with over time. So now that we've done this overview, we're going to get into how you can be successful with Alibaba.com. So with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide, and in this video, we are going to start setting up your Alibaba account. Now, to start the process, of course, you're going to go to Alibaba.com. Then you want to go to the Join Free button and click that link. Now, as you're setting up your account, you're going to be asked to put an email address. And as you start writing in your email address, what you're going to find is that Alibaba is going to start telling you all of the email addresses that are already taken and all of the email addresses that are already there. And so these are going to be the ones that you are not going to be using. So now we're going to continue on and put our email address in here. Now, once you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to have a verification code, which you are going to want to type in order to kind of keep things moving. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. And then we are going to then click Next. You're then going to want to go to your email box to pick up your confirmation email. So let's go and do that now. You are then going to have an email in your email box from Alibaba, and you're going to need to click Complete in order to complete the account registration in order to verify your email address. So go ahead and click the Complete button. And that's actually going to bring you to a screen where you're going to create a password and you're going to put in your location. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And once you do that, then what you're going to do is you're going to put in your location in the world. I'm going to actually put in my location here. Now, in this case, we are obviously not going to be a supplier. We are going to be a buyer. So we're going to click that link. And then we're going to write in our name and company name and telephone number. Okay, and then once we have written in all that information, we're going to click the Confirm button. Once we do that, our account is going to be set up. We're now going to be asked if we want to be part of Trade Assurance. And you're going to click a Learn More button here. So let's talk a little bit about what Trade Assurance is. Trade Assurance is basically a protection service for new buyers and actually experienced buyers that adds an extra layer of security to the purchasing process on Alibaba. And of great benefit, the service is actually free. Now, the good thing is that not all suppliers are going to be part of the program. So you will be able to find good suppliers by simply sorting out and looking for those that are part of the Trade Assurance program. And you'll find out why as we begin to talk about this special program. And actually, what it offers is 100% protection of an agreed amount between the buyer and the trade assurance supplier. And so you will then be protected for a specific amount decided up front. Now, the service differs from supplier to supplier, but most suppliers offer between $3,000 and $5,000 for those who are working with them for the first time, and some even offer up to $25,000. Now, the agreed upon amount between the buyer and supplier is called the Trade Assurance Order Amount, or TAOA, and that's what we'll refer to it throughout the rest of this video. Now, for example, if your TAOA limit is $4,000 and you file a claim, you'll get 100% protection of that amount, $4,000, if indeed the claim that you place is awarded to you. Now, there is the matter of an inspection fee. Before any claim is awarded, Alibaba will inspect the goods of the supplier that you're dealing with, and if they're found to be at fault, you will not have to pay the inspection fee. Now, the other thing is that trade assurance covers 3 basic areas in terms of your protection. First, you're covered by shipping time. So in other words, if the supplier does not ship when they say they're going to, or they don't ship in a reasonable period of time or the agreed upon time, then you have the right to file a claim. And then there's also pre-shipment product quality. In other words, was the product a good product when it actually left the manufacturer? And the last is related, of course, any damage to the product before it actually leaves the manufacturer. Now, whenever possible, when you're ordering goods on Alibaba, you should always sort for those manufacturers in the trade assurance program. And you'll actually be able to see that labeled very clearly when you're actually doing a search. As you see, there's a search here for a tree stand, and you'll see that we can actually sort for trade assurance. Now, just because you found a supplier in the trade assurance program does not mean that you're finished with your process. One of the things that you're going to want to note is that just because a seller is in the program doesn't mean that you're automatically covered. When you go into the negotiation process, you are still going to need to agree with the seller on the TAOA. Now, if you are actually going to be participating with the pre-shipment quality option, you're also going to need to negotiate that and the exact terms of what quality means prior to shipment. Yes, you're covered for damage, but you will also want to negotiate the exact terms of quality if that is what you're going to do with your agreement with your seller. Now, if you have to submit a claim to Alibaba under the trade assurance program, your seller is going to have 5 days to respond, and once they respond, you'll need to work out the issue within 15 days. Now, it's important to note there are certain things that you are not going to be covered for with the trade assurance program. Now, here's that non-coverage list. First, you're not going to be covered for disputes for reasons other than late shipment. So if you don't necessarily like the way someone interacted with you, or you don't necessarily like something that you got in the package and it wasn't agreed upon, then that's not going to be something that you're going to be covered under using trade assurance. Any quality issues that occur after the shipment leaves the seller. So your seller is not going to be responsible for that, and you will not be able to file a claim to Alibaba. Damage that occurs during pickup. So if you have damage that occurs when someone comes to actually take your package and move it on toward your location, that's not going to be something you're going to be able to make a claim for, because again, the seller is not responsible for that action. Delayed delivery. So as long as the seller ships on time, they're not going to be responsible for a claim if the package or if your product is delivered late. Again, they're not responsible for that if they've done their job by getting the package out to you on time. Anything with respect to vehicles, real estate, or digital products, those products are not covered under trade assurance. Basically, what you want to know about trade assurance is that the seller is not going to be in control over what happens after they ship your physical product. And although this program is not foolproof, it's a great feature to those who are new to Alibaba. And the main thing that you want to keep in mind is that it's very hard for scammers to get approval for trade assurance with Alibaba so that they would be able to deal with you. So by sorting inside of your search for these suppliers, you are actually doing yourself a favor, and you are limiting the opportunities for you to be scammed. So once again, when possible, always try to become part or use the sort feature for trade assurance. So with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide, and in this video we are going to be discussing finding a product to sell. Now, one of the things you'll notice about Alibaba is that the actual process of starting your product search is going to be fairly straightforward, and it's going to be intuitive when you see the actual interface. You will be browsing product categories and browsing the search for what you're basically looking for in terms of a product. Now, of course, you should already have some idea of the market that you're going to be looking for. Now, on Alibaba, there are basically two ways to conduct your searches, and we will be looking at them in a minute. You can either search for items based on product descriptions, or you can search for items based on suppliers. So first, let's take a look at browsing categories. Alibaba will have a number of categories here on the side, and of course a number of subcategories, and you can actually start your search based on the market that you know that you're looking to get into. So for example, if you're going to be looking at men's clothing, and in particular men's shirts, you can start your search inside of a category and go inside of men's clothing. Once you're inside of men's clothing, you can start to look in particular for the item that you're looking for. And we said that we'd be looking at men's shirts. So we can actually continue to browse using this category. Once you have those categories, you'll have lots of other subcategories that you can start to look through in order to narrow down your search. Now, of course, we'll be talking about quality areas that you can actually narrow down your search, but what you want to do is to start thinking about what kind of market you're looking for and how you can narrow your search down inside of Alibaba. As you can see here, you've got 130,000 selections that you can actually choose from. But you can actually probably narrow that down by taking a look at things that you want. Perhaps you want a 100% polyester search. And then you can actually further narrow it down, and you'll see the actual numbers here in this area. So you can actually then start to narrow it down to adults. And then you can actually continue to narrow your search down. Perhaps you are looking for polyester and you're looking for flannel, and then you've only got 36 choices here. And then you actually have a reasonable sampling that you can begin to narrow down your search based on some of the categories that you have at the top. Now, of course, we can also source products by looking at them according to their product description or their name. So if you were to write into your category name a digital camera, you can then begin your search inside of Alibaba in that way. And you'll notice here that Alibaba does give you some convenience areas that you can start to narrow down your search even before you actually get to the page. Maybe you're looking for a digital camera that carries an SD card. And once again, you're going to start to see categories that you can start to narrow down based on what it is that you know you want to sell, based on what you know is already going to be a market on one of the larger websites such as eBay or Amazon. Now, once again, you can actually search based on supplier, and so all you'll need to do is to go to this drop down box and then look for suppliers. Now, of course, you will need to know kind of what you're looking for, but in this particular case, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at what a search looks like for a particular subscriber just by typing in a letter. Now, in this particular case, if we were to take the search that looked for Android television, you would start to see that certain suppliers or certain purchasing agents are going to show up. You're also going to see certain suppliers show up here in the search area. And once again, we haven't started looking at narrowing down based on our key categories, but you will get an idea of what you're looking for in terms of suppliers. And Alibaba does give you choices and areas where you can narrow down. As you can see here, you've got 677 suppliers. You can actually narrow those suppliers down to places where you want, or suppliers that have what you want, and you can use the columns on the left side that will give you a more of a reasonable search that you can start to actually look for people that will have what it is that you want to sell in the marketplace. Now, the question is, of course, what should you actually be looking for as you go through your product search? And there are a couple of things to keep in mind. Now, the product pages are going to give you information that is going to help you in your actual search. And what you want to do is you'll want to consider taking an organized approach to evaluating the information. I'm going to be talking about that here in this video. Now, you're looking at a fairly basic page here that will give you product information. And we're going to be talking about what actual information we should be looking for as we go through each particular product page. But this is very similar to what a product page is going to look like as you start to narrow down your search. Now, the information that you're going to want to pay attention to, you are going to want to pay attention to the unit price. That's one thing. You'll also want to pay attention to something called FOB. Now, of course, free on board means it is the basic cost of delivering the goods or the product that you're choosing to the nearest port, but you are going to be responsible for the shipping from that port. So it's a way of just describing the amount of shipping that you are going to be responsible for. Now, one important aspect of the information you're going to be looking for is going to be the minimum order quantity, and that's going to determine what the minimum order is that you can actually get from the supplier. And this is going to be important because you want to be able to determine if your product is going to be profitable, and you don't want to order a large quantity before you actually know that your product is going to sell. So determining what that number is going to be a vital part of deciding whether or not you're going to move forward on a particular product. Now, another area on the page that you'll see is going to be payment options. And let's talk about those payment options for a second. Some suppliers are going to want the upfront bank transfer. And this is actually considered to be fairly risky. And so in some cases, you might want to eliminate some suppliers who want their bank transfer sent to them upfront. It is a very difficult way of doing business with a supplier that you don't know. Another payment option that's often offered is a letter of credit, and this actually gives you the opportunity to build up credit with the actual supplier or with someone that the supplier trusts. Western Union is considered to be fairly risky because you're actually sending a bank draft that cannot be rescinded, or it cannot be traced to some degree until after the supplier has actually cashed the actual money order. And so Western Union, in some cases, this could be, unless you know the supplier well, one of the ways that you might weed out a particular supplier that you are going to deal with. A fairly safe way of doing business is going to be PayPal. Of course, PayPal has to have a verified party. They have to verify the process, and then you actually have recourse against a seller if something doesn't go the way you think that it should. And probably the safest of all is going to be escrow, depending on how experienced you are in working with suppliers. Now, let's take a look at an actual page. Now, as you can see here on this page, you can actually get the latest FOB price right here in this area. If you click that link, you're also going to see that the minimum order quantity on this item is going to be 1 piece. Right now, the other thing that you're going to want to take note of are the payment options. And as you can see, this supplier has Western Union, MoneyGram, and PayPal letter of credit, as well as upfront transfer. So you can actually have a range of options available to you that will allow you to work with this supplier. Now, these are going to be the basic items you're going to use in order to start narrowing down your search and to find products. Now, we're actually going to be looking at some other aspects of the process that you can use in order to narrow down to determine that you're actually making a safe transaction, and you're going to have one that's going to lead to your being able to build a relationship with the supplier. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide, And in this video, we are actually going to start working through the process of buying the actual product to sell. And in particular, in this video, we're going to be discussing how to reduce your risk of scam as a buyer. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that many of the businesses on Alibaba are not the actual manufacturer, they are actually intermediaries. So as you work through the process of narrowing down the people that you're actually going to buy from, you are going to need to determine which of these companies you're going to want to deal with, because of the fact that not every listing that you see is going to be the person that is actually going to be producing the product. And this is going to be important because intermediaries mark up the price and they increase the level of miscommunication between you and the actual manufacturer while providing very little value. So you really do want to try to work through the process of finding the actual manufacturer. And of course, as is the case in any marketplace like this, there are just going to be people who are just full-on cheaters or scammers, and they're looking to make off with the entire payment that you're going to make in order to get your merchandise. Of course, the biggest concern beyond these things would be a concern in any marketplace, but your number one concern in buying product is going to be the quality of the actual product that you're going to be reselling in another marketplace. You want to make sure that what is advertised is going to be the thing that you're actually getting. You're actually going to see, many times you're going to see the words premium quality, but you're going to need to go through some additional processes to make sure that you're actually getting that premium quality. Now, in order to do that, you want to make sure to use Alibaba's verification program, which actually has several levels. And you're going to be able to self-select for that verification program simply by clicking this button. And you can see that Alibaba will even tell you that checking this box will actually give you the third-party inspections that you would need to have in order to be assured that you're really dealing with the company that you want to actually buy from. Now, that third-party verification program actually has audio and visual checks, so you will be able to know that you've actually spoken to, or that someone, the third-party company, has actually spoken to someone. They've actually seen what is happening there at the company. That company that's gone through the verification program has actually had on-site checks, so you'll be able to know that you're really dealing with a company, a real company that produces real products. You also will have supplier assessments. And that means then that you're going to be able to get a report from Alibaba or from the third party that will tell you how the supplier has done business in the past. So this is a great way to reduce your risk as a buyer. And these third-party services can actually help you through the process of buying, depending on how large your order actually is. There's more that you can do than just self-selecting. You can also ask lots of questions about the business and products. And regardless of how big your order is, you should be asking questions to verify, again, the quality and the fact that this company is really going to be able to deliver the kind of product that's going to allow you to build a brand, allow you to have customers to come back and to give you good ratings wherever it is that you sell it. You can actually ask for and expect to get their business license. This will help you to reduce, again, the opportunity that someone who is acting as an intermediary or someone who's just looking to take your money of being able to get to your payment. Get their actual phone number. Each of these companies that are doing real business should have an actual phone number that you can get a hold of. And of course, you should be having Skype meetings with your contacts. Often, these companies, they have individuals and representatives that will be able to meet with you on Skype. You'll actually be able to have a real conversation. Now, of course, there will be language barriers, but you will be able to verify at a visual level that this is someone who is really doing real business. And of course, you can ask for photos of the factory and sample products. This will then allow you to, again, verify that you're doing real business with a real company. Now, we're going to be talking about this process in a future video, but you should be making sure to get samples. This is an indication that the company that you're dealing with is going to be able to deliver. You'll be able to get an assessment of the quality. This will help you to reduce your risk that you're getting a product that's not going to be something that you're going to deliver. It's going to fall apart, something that you are going to miss delivering. You are going to make sure that you're getting a decent product. When possible, make your contact through a fictitious name and then get additional samples and then compare the quality. This will mean that, a company that's really doing business, they're going to be able to send you the same level of quality, and you're going to be able to get two different products in the same general area, and you're going to be able to compare them to make sure that yes, this company didn't just get your order and just put something together. They consistently deliver good, solid, manufactured quality. And over and above everything else, use your common sense. And that means then that if the pricing is way out of the market, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Make sure that the company that you're dealing with, that they're not making promises that really seem different from all the other companies that you've talked to. And then make sure that you're dealing with a company that doesn't have terms that are not offered by other suppliers. In general, companies, wherever they are, they're going to be pretty much in the same area, pretty much in the same ballpark, if they're going to be a company that's reputable and one that you're going to want to deal with over time. Lastly, always be willing to walk away from a potential deal and supplier. Don't get emotionally attached. This will reduce your risk over and above everything else because, again, you might see a product and you might feel as if, boy, this is the thing that I want, but you should be willing to walk away from that deal, especially if something that you see doesn't really resonate, doesn't really feel right. You've got to be willing to find the right product, and before you can start really thinking about making a lot of money, you've got to make sure that you're reducing your risk, that you're getting a decent product, and that you're dealing with a company that's going to be on the up and up with you. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide. And in this video, we are going to discuss how you're going to get started contacting suppliers. Now, as you start to contact potential suppliers, there are going to be a couple of things that you are going to want to keep in mind as we get started really going over some of the details of what you're going to need to do. Now, you are going to want to start narrowing down your basic suppliers or the people that you're going to be serious in considering on a couple of issues. You're going to want to start thinking about price. You're going to want to think about minimum order quantity because you want to be able to control how many you're going to actually have in inventory. You're going to narrow down your suppliers based on payment terms. You want them to be favorable to you and what's going to help you to be able to manage your cash flow. You want to make sure that you have suppliers that you can interact with and that you are developing a good, solid business relationship with. So start narrowing down your potential suppliers on these bases. And then also, throughout the process, be willing to negotiate. Be upfront in the terms that you want. Be upfront in the things that are going to make it good for you to be able to do business in whatever marketplace you're going to be doing business in, whether it's Amazon, whether it's eBay, whether it's locally. Make sure that you're negotiating with your supplier based on how you are going to be doing business. Now, one thing that you want to keep in mind is that the minimum order quantity is just about always going to be negotiable with the supplier. So just consider that as you go through the process. Even once you get to the end, you are then going to want to press your supplier to get the terms that you want for minimum order quantity. And then make sure also to seek a win-win. Don't try to button down your supplier to the point where they're actually not being able to do business and they're not getting anything from being able to do business with you. You want to develop a long-term partnership with them if your product is successful. So make sure that it's a win for them and a win for you. Now, let's get into some of the detail. Now, email can definitely be the primary means of contact, but there are some other things that you're going to want to think about. Now, one of the best practices of wholesale buyers is to use live chat. And that's a good thing to use so that you don't have to wait for a reply. You can actually continue to move the process forward while you're online. Now, Alibaba's website can actually let you know when a supplier is online. In fact, when you're online and you're searching, you'll be able to self-select for those who are already online by clicking this box. Now, if you do choose to use live chat, you're going to want to try to time it to early in the morning GMT. These are business hours in China, and what this is going to do is it's going to increase your chances of being able to meet an actual sales rep online again, so that you can continue to move the process forward. Now, if you do choose to use email, please keep in mind that your email is likely to be translated. And when you write your email, what you're basically going to be doing is requesting a quote. Now, let's take a look at what your email should actually say. Of course, you're going to start out with salutations, and you're going to state your name and that you're looking for a supplier of a specific product. You probably want to make some statement about the fact that you've been doing research and that you found their company. And then you're going to state clearly what it is that you want. You're going to state that you'd like information about that product on minimum order quantity, FOB pricing, production time, payment terms, and sample pricing. And then you want to keep this email very short and to the point. You want to have them contact you at your business email. Now, hopefully you have set up a business email that's specifically to do business with Alibaba suppliers. And then you want to thank them and then tell them that you're looking forward to hearing from them, and then you state another salutation. Again, this is a very short email, very direct, and it's asking and inquiring for information. Now, you want to write the email so that you get everything you need without days or weeks going by. So you want to request as much information as you possibly can. Now, your goal, and you should easily be able to do this, to get all of the information you need to make a decision within 24 hours from the time that you actually send your message. Now, using a format like this with a narrowed down list should help you to get in contact with as many potential suppliers as you can within one sitting that you're actually serious about. Now, although you don't want to rush the process, as you know, time can really be of the essence, especially if you already have a good market opportunity and you sense that you're going to be able to profit in a niche quickly. Now, one thing that you'll want to keep in mind is that not getting samples is a deal breaker, and you should not proceed contact with any supplier who does not or is unwilling to supply you with samples. Now, once you actually start hearing back from suppliers with all the information you've requested, you'll have a few candidates that are going to be worthy of requesting and paying for samples. You'll then want to send a follow-up email to those that you're serious about to get those samples. Now, you're communicating with them to let you know that you're not trying to get around their MOQ. You are really trying to get a sample because you're serious about buying. And once you send the email that we're about to go over in a minute, you should expect a confirmation as to the cost of the sample and then how you can make payment for them. Now, in some cases, the samples will be free to you, and you'll just need to pay the shipping. Now, let's go over the email that you'll be sending to request samples. Of course, you'll start with salutations, and then you'll thank them for their email, tell them that you reviewed it, and that you'd like to go ahead with an order. But you want to say before you commit, you'd like to get a sample of the product so that you can test quality. And then you want to make sure that you can do samples for that specific product that you're looking for. And then thank them, again, keeping this email very short, and then saying sincerely and then signing off. And that is the process of contacting suppliers to get ready to receive your samples. Now, the next video, we're going to be talking about what's going to happen when you actually start to receive your samples back. So with that, thanks, and I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide. And in this video, we are going to discuss what you're going to do when your samples arrive. Now, some wholesale buyers suggest that you should actually try to sell your samples to get a sense for how well they'll do on the market. However, this is not considered to be a best practice because you risk your seller rating if you haven't properly tested an item first. You want to look at this product for aesthetics. You're also going to want to look at it for longevity and durability. Why? Because you want to make sure that the product is going to last after repeated use, after repeated testing, after a period of time. You want to make sure that colors don't fade, that things don't fall apart, that it doesn't have a fatal flaw. You want to make sure before this actually goes to a market because, again, your seller rating is always going to be on the line as you start to sell these products in various marketplaces. You want to take your sample not to sell, but you want to make sure that you're giving it the best and the harshest and the most detailed use as you possibly can when you get the sample. If possible, use a durability checklist. You want to also get family members to test it also. Have it used as if it's going to be used by a customer or a client that doesn't necessarily treat it gently but treats it harshly. One of the reasons that you want to do this is because you don't want to have warranty issues or lots of refunds when customers feel as if they've been cheated and they feel as if the product that they have is not of sufficient quality. Now, for example, there is a concept among wholesalers that you will have clothing that is called 3-generation clothing. That, in other words, after 3 washes or 3 periods during a drying cycle, that not only does the clothing fade, but it also shrinks. You want to make sure that you do not have that kind of product if you're going to use clothing, and you do that by testing the sample. One thing that is probably a good example of testing the sample is having something that has a hinge. You want to make sure that you test the hinge plenty of time so that you know this product is going to be worth going forward with an order. Now, you only proceed beyond this point if you are 100% satisfied with the sample and that you're sure that you will have customers that will use this and will be satisfied. So this sample process, the testing in particular, is very important. You don't want to invest in inventory that you're eventually going to have to pull off the market and is going to lower your seller rating in the selling marketplaces. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide, and in this video, we are going to start from the point at which your sample is actually going to check out and you're comfortable with it, and then you want to go forward with this supplier. Now, once your sample checks out and you've approved it, you're then ready to move forward with a particular supplier so that you can place a larger order for product. Now, it's best to move forward with smaller orders as you get started working with a particular supplier because you want to make sure that the scale that you're working on is going to be good quality for the people who are actually going to be buying, as well as for the shipping process, as well as for the marketplace that you're going to be operating in. Now, here's the thing. If your desired order is below their stated MOQ, you should seek to negotiate at this point because you've already proven that you're serious. You've gone through the process of getting a sample and now you've come back to them for an order. You should make sure that that MOQ, that minimum order, the amount of product that you're going to get for this first order is going to be at a level for you to be able to test the scale and for you to be able to generate profit. And suppliers are generally willing to negotiate their MOQ down if they think that they're going to be doing business with you in the future. So how do you say that? And how do you write that in your email? Now here's your email for requesting a reduction in MOQ. You're going to state your salutation, and you're going to talk about the fact that you've received the samples and that you tested them, and then as a result you like to proceed with an order. And so you're going to tell them that. But you're going to tell them that you want to have an MOQ for yourself that's going to be good for the kind of business that you're going to be doing. And then you're going to tell them that you'd like to test the product at that scale and that you're going to come back for a larger order later. And then you're just going to end the email, and you're going to ask them to give you information on how you can proceed with the order at that level. And then, of course, you'll sign off, and that will be the end of your message. So at this point, it's now time for you to start moving into getting ready to get product in, but you want to do it at the scale at which is going to make sense for your business. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide, and in this video we are going to talk about placing your order using the online order form from Alibaba. Now, you're going to want to make sure that before you start this process that you have discussed with the supplier and they should know what to expect from you. Now, when you're placing an order, you should always use the online order form from Alibaba. If a supplier, for some reason, does not want to use this form, you should probably not use them. Using this form means that the trade assurance program will work for you in case there's a problem. And if there's a problem, or if you're scammed in any way, Alibaba would not have any recourse on your behalf if you don't use this form, so it's very important to use it. Now, Alibaba, yes, they do get a fee when you're using their system, but the fee is going to be worth it for the added security. Now, the unit price will not change in this form unless the supplier actually changes it. And if you want customization of some kind, you need to write it directly to the supplier in the form. And then make sure that you add in any customization in the terms section. And you're going to see that here on the order form. You're going to see the product. You're going to see the minimum order quantity, and obviously you can change this based on your conversation with your supplier. This will generally not change. The unit price is pretty much going to be the same unless you've negotiated something different with the supplier. And then you're going to see the price come right here and the subtotal. Now, what you'll also see in this area is a place for you to write into your message for any customization that you're going to want and any other terms that you're going to want to do right in this area. You also want to make sure that if you're going to do that, that you put the very same information here inside of the terms area so that that information is there also. Now, you're going to see your payment, and you're going to see your payment methods, which we will be talking about in another video. When trade assurance is in place, you're going to see that in this box, and you do want to make sure, if possible, this is activated for your order. Now, Alibaba is going to tell you at what point your order is complete at 100%, and when you do that, then you are going to be ready to proceed. Now, once again, the most important part to this is that your supplier should be expecting this order. You should already have had a conversation with them. They should be looking for this form to come in on their side. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide, and in this video we are going to be discussing actually making payment now for your product. Now, the best way to make payment is through the Alibaba Secure Payment Gateway. And when this is done, Alibaba will take your payment, hold it in escrow, and as soon as your goods arrive, Alibaba will make the payment to the supplier. Now, if you decide to use a credit card, you will have some additional fees. They're generally worth it for the added security and for the fact that you can issue a chargeback if there is a problem with your merchandise. Now, if you're doing a large purchase, $20,000 or more, you can use a letter of credit for your payment. Now, a letter of credit is a letter backed by your bank that will release the funds once you verify that the supplier has delivered on what they promised. And when doing this, you'll probably want to work with a transfer agent in getting this in place. Now, the letter of credit will not have the same level of fees and will generally be better for the supplier. Now, because you won't have credit card protections in this case, the transaction, on the other hand, will not nearly be as secure. Now, for bank transfers, the more that a supplier wants up front, the worse the transaction is for you, the buyer. Typically, if you choose to use a bank transfer, you'll want to do 20% upfront and then the rest upon delivery. Now, in every case, Western Union is the most insecure method, and you'll have no recourse if you choose to use it. Finally, make sure to read the Making Payment page in Alibaba for more specific, detailed, and up-to-date instructions. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide, and in this video we are going to be discussing having your product shipped. Now, you typically want to have your sample products shipped directly to you or to a P.O. box so that you'll be able to get to them quickly, get them, and then test your samples so that you can go through the process so that you'll figure out whether or not you'll want to deal with that supplier. However, when you're ready for your major order, you'll want to have it shipped directly someplace where it can be stored and categorized. Now, most sellers are going to use Amazon FBA for this process. This would mean that the product would be stored and categorized by Amazon. This would also mean that you wouldn't have to have the product around your personal residence. And this can be very important because you don't want to have product in your personal residence where it could be damaged, where something could happen to it, where you could actually start to lose track of some of the inventory. You want to have it someplace where someone else is going to be accountable for it, and it's going to be in a location ready to be sold. Now, for more information about the Amazon FBA process, you can click the link inside of your clickable document. So with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide, and in this video we are going to talk about what happens when your product arrives. Now, the first thing you're going to do when your product arrives is that you are going to do an inspection of the product to make sure that everything that you are receiving is as it was described. Now, if you're using the FBA or Amazon FBA, they will do an inspection and then give you a report as to whether or not any of your goods were damaged, and just to make sure that everything that was supposed to be in the box is actually there. The second, you want to make sure that none of the products have been damaged during the shipping and handling process. Now, if you're going to have a problem from products coming from overseas, you'll find that it is going to be water damage from the shipping process. So make sure and do a careful examination to make sure that none of your products have been water damaged. Now, if possible, record your unboxing and your inspection using video. Go through every process from the opening of the box to actually inspecting the item. Now, most transactions will come with shipping insurance to help compensate you if goods are damaged or not as described. you want to go ahead and make sure that you open up one of the actual packages to make sure that your product is as advertised. Once again, sure, you're going to make sure that all of your boxes are there and everything that you have paid for is in your box, but you want to go the next step. Take one of the items that's actually going to be sold, open up the package, make sure it is exactly what you paid for and what you expected. Now, if there is any damage, contact the supplier to work out what may need to be done, and make sure that you contact immediately. This is why it's important for you to do the inspection immediately upon having that package arrive to your location. Now, if for some reason you feel that you've been scammed, don't contact the supplier, contact Alibaba support. They have people in place that know how to handle these matters. The first thing they're going to do is to remove the supplier, and then they'll launch their own internal investigation. Now, if it's determined that it's a fraud process, your payment that's still in escrow will be held. And that's one of the good reasons for you to use the online secure payment facility. Once again, when you determine that there is fraud, make sure that you don't contact the supplier. Let Alibaba handle the process. If you have a case where items have been damaged, that's the time to contact the supplier. But if you determine that there's fraud, that's when you want to contact Alibaba immediately. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back to the Alibaba Success Guide. And in conclusion, sourcing products from Alibaba can be profitable, but it does take being cautious, going through all of the procedures that you can in order to reduce your risk. Now, in most cases, using everything that the platform offers, plus a little common sense, you can actually go a long way in being able to source goods from Alibaba and actually sell them in an online marketplace where you'll have satisfied customers. The more satisfied customers you'll have, the more product you'll be able to buy again and then continue selling. Now, one of the key features in this process is that you want to make sure that you are over communicating and looking for the same thing from your suppliers. That means that you're making sure that you have the kind of goods that you want, that you're making sure that you have the kind of terms that you want, that you're making sure that everything that you are looking for in your partner, you are stating it up front and being open in your communication with them. Over communication is one of the keys in the process of being successful with Alibaba. Now, understand, there may be a different perception in your words and actions that you might expect. So in other words, you want to make sure that you take extra steps in being clear in your communication with your supplier. There is no such thing in leaving things vague. You must be detailed and you must be thorough in your communication. Be serious about verification and using all the protections, and that really includes testing samples. It includes opening up boxes to make sure that everything that you are supposed to receive, that you have received. And although we've mentioned it in this video, it stands to reason that you must use common sense at all stages of the process. That means that if something is too good to be true, it probably is. That means that if terms are too good to be true, they probably are. That means that if you're getting a deal that no one else is getting, you probably want to go and check out that deal to make sure that it is legitimate and the company is legitimate and that the person that you're dealing with is actually a representative of that company. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I'll see you in another video or another course.